Hey man, Jana Jana just pisses me off.
Didn't even get to bronze.
What's up guys, Captain Ballsack here, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of doing a normal comedic video, which is what I normally do, I'm going to teach you some I'm going to teach you a couple tips and tricks with my boy Dre here. Now, my reasoning for doing this is because I see plenty of guides telling you how to play Draven, but you can tell that they're not really Draven mains, because they only teach you the basics. So today I'm going to teach you how to actually play the champion. Now, if you need some credentials, I'll go ahead and let this all start doing talking for me. Now, I'm not going to really talk much about anything outside of mechanics, the exception being trading kills, because pretty much everything else is either really basic ADC stuff, or just stuff that you only learn from experience. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. The first area I'd like to cover is maintaining your axes. And because we're starting off at a camp leashing for this Lee Sin, I'm going to go ahead and talk about leashing, and heading to lane with axes. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video for a second. Okay, you're going to see right here that I started spinning my axes at around 150 instead of 155 when the mob spawned. The reasoning for doing this is because I want to head to lane with 2 spinning axes. So before the camp starts, I start spinning my axes so I get the cooldown started. Then I'm going to go ahead and keep refreshing my first axe while I'm auto-attacking the jungle mob. Normally I give the jungler 3 or 4 auto-attacks, and that's just enough time for your Q to come off cooldown. So, while you're going to lane, you're able to pop your Q just in time to make sure you don't lose your first axe. And then you'll end up walking the lane with 2 spinning axes ready to go. And the reason you do this is because it gives you a lot of pressure right off the bat. They see you with your 2 axes and they're going to be really afraid to trade with you. This can help you push the lane or just assert lane dominance. This leashing technique helps me really emphasize just how important timing is in maintaining Draven's axes. Basically, his Q has a cooldown of 12 seconds, and you could keep a spinning axe up for 6 seconds without refreshing it. Also, your spinning axe refreshes off of auto-attacking anything. So, keeping all this in mind, it should be your goal as a Draven player to keep 2 spinning axes active as often as possible. You also want to try to keep your Q off cooldown so you can replace any dropped axes. Now, while getting an auto attacks with your spinning axes is really important, getting an auto attacks in between spinning axes with a non-spinning auto attack is also very important. Before you move to catch a spinning axe, there's almost always enough time to get in an extra auto attack. For maximum damage output on Draven, you normally want just enough attack speed to get a 3rd axe out while both of your spinning axes are in the air. Now keep in mind that you have Blood Rush. So activating that and having attack speed runes gives you enough attack speed to get out those 3 axes. Because of this, you don't normally need to build attack speed on Draven until later in the game when you want crit. He also kind of scales really well off of AD, so I'd recommend buying damage first. Also, really quickly, and I don't even do this myself, but it is possible to have 3 spinning axes at once. Basically, you throw out your first 2 spinning auto attacks, and then you press Q before you throw out the 3rd, and it makes the 3rd one spinning as well. This will increase your damage output, but it's not really too vital that you do this. It just helps. Okay. That was actually a lot more than I thought I would have to say about maintaining your axes, but good job me. So, what I want to talk about next is Draven's E, which is stand aside. Personally, I think this is one of the most underrated forms of CC in the game. Reason for that being is that it has so many uses. It also acts as a knockup. So for all you Yasuo players out there, you better gank my lane. What makes it so good and unique is that it actually makes players stand aside. And by that I mean it moves them to the side, instead of just like knocking them back or locking them in place like a root or a stun. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys 2 clips, and I want you to pay attention to how I position myself and how I aim my W to control which way they go. Now, something that you're going to notice throughout the entire video is that I almost never throw my stand aside directly at an enemy. In this case, All-Star and I were looking to escape, so I moved myself off to the left a little bit and then placed my stand aside slightly in front of them so that it would knock them backwards. It didn't make much of a difference here because we were so far ahead, but the direction you knock your enemies back can determine whether or not you live or die in a fight. In this next clip, I'm going to point out 2 different things. The first is that I throw my stand aside in front of her, so I knock her back towards me. That helps me secure the kill. The second thing that you saw is that I aggressively flashed forward, going for a kill, and stand aside immediately. This is just a fun little trick that I like to do. It helps me secure kills, and it catches people off guard. People don't really expect it, and Draven does have a decent amount of burst. Stand aside is also really useful for trading, since it temporarily Stand aside is also really useful for trading, since it temporarily incapacitates enemy champions. There we go. So, because of that, try auto-attacking, then stand-asiding, then auto-attacking again, or stand-asiding, then auto-attacking. It'll help you get off more harass, and it'll also keep you safe from retaliation. Keeping that in mind, make sure you pay attention to how I use stand-aside in the rest of the clips I use. Next, I'm going to teach you guys about uses for Draven's ultimate. You can see in this next clip that it can be used to clear minion waves and keep towers from dying. Okay, that might not be the best clip to prove my point, but trust me, it does. It can save towers. Just trust me on that one. Draven's ultimate also really helps with bursting enemies down. It takes almost no time to cast, and it does a decent amount of damage, as you can see in this clip. Try casting it right after an auto attack to be more efficient. That way, you don't have to sacrifice one of your auto attacks to get it off. Also, don't be afraid to use it as a cross-map ultimate like you would Ezreal's or Jinx's, because it is a global ult, and it can help get you free assists or even free kills. And, I mean, who doesn't want those? Also, I don't really have any good clips of it right now, but make sure you recast your ultimate before it hits the intended target, because that will help to ensure that they get hit by the axis going both ways and take the full damage from your ultimate. Also keep in mind that your ultimate will return to your current location, so if you switch places from where you were previously, your axes will go to you. Oh, and yeah, it has a lot of AoE potential too, so you should probably try to line it up in team fights. Okay, so I took a quick breather and now I'm back, so I'm feeling good and refreshed and ready to go. The next subject that we're going to talk about is how to trade kills. Now, Draven is very different from other champions because of his passive, which allows you to gain minion stacks, and then once you get a kill, you consume the minion stacks to get gold. Because of this, trading kills on Draven early on in the game is actually alright to do. Basically, you get 2 stacks for every minion that you kill, and for every spinning axe that you catch. So as those stack up, kills will be more valuable. But even if you do get a kill with 0 stacks, you still get the flat plus 50 gold, and that's always useful. You also lose half your stacks upon death, so if you feel like you're gonna die, you better try to get a kill as hard as possible. If you trade 1 kill for 1 kill, you will always come out on top because of your passive, and because Draven is one of the hardest snowballing champions in the game. However, you need to keep in mind that you are the ADC, so during team fights and late game, you do not want to do this, especially for a low priority target. Also, this doesn't mean to put yourself in situations in which you will get a kill and then die, because giving gold to the enemy team is still never a good idea, even if you snowball harder than them. Since you are a little bit of a lane bully, if you have a decent support, you should be able to get a kill without dying, so just keep that in mind and you'll be fine. Okay guys, that's it for the tutorial, except for one last bit of advice. If catching and leading your axes isn't second nature to you, then you have not practiced the champion enough. Just go to some bot games and fool around with it a little bit, or something like that. Or normals, whichever floats your boat. Anyway, that's it for now, guys. Captain Ballsack out. Hey man, I was clearly baited by that Annie. I'm gonna knock you out, brother. Mama said knock you out, son. I'm gonna knock you out. Mama said knock you out. I'm gonna knock you out, baby. Mama said knock you out.